I really want to believe that this is going to end and that Palestine can be saved, but it doesn't look good for them. And the fact that they're now in a full-blown famine state is just horrendous. And there's seemingly no end in sight. So my name is Misty Winston. I am your guest host here on the Jimmy Dore Show today. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to Jimmy for inviting me on to guest host the show. I appreciate that as always. So we're going to move now to a really horrible, I mean, once you think it can't get any more horrible, it gets more horrible. So U.S.-funded Hunger Monitor concurs with UN-backed IPC that famine is occurring in Gaza. And this is really no surprise to anybody who's paying attention. But the idea that a U.S.-funded organization is now plainly stating this, I think, is a fairly significant story. This is something that really I haven't seen a lot of people talking about either. So a U.S. government-funded Hunger Monitor has concurred with the UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase Classification. That's a mouthful. That famine is taking place in the Gaza Strip. The Famine Early Warning Systems Network, or the FuseNet, which has historically been funded by the U.S. Agency for International Development, our dear friends at USAID, issued a report on August 22nd, the same day as the IPC report, stating that a famine is ongoing in the Gaza governorate, which includes Gaza City. The FuseNet and IPC report said that famine is also likely occurring in the North Gaza governorate, and that the situation may be even worse there, but it couldn't be officially confirmed due to the lack of data. The report said that the famine is projected to begin in the Khan Yunis and Deir el-Balah, I'm probably butchering that governates, by the end of September unless immediate action is taken. And we are joined by Dave DeCamp from Anti-War News. Again, you can follow Dave on Twitter at DeCamp Dave, and then also on his show Anti-War News with Dave DeCamp. It's a Monday through Friday, like quick hitting foreign policy show. So go subscribe, check that out. So Dave, this is a really depressing story. Obviously, there isn't much that isn't depressing about the situation in Gaza, but this seems like a fairly significant shift. Yeah.
Well, one reason why I wanted to cover this, so this report was published a week ago, and I wrote the story just yesterday, so it was a little week old news almost, but it went really unnoticed that on top of the IPC, that FuseNet, which is under now that they've rolled the USAID into the State Department. It's under the State Department, and it concurred with this IPC report that famine is taking place in Gaza. And not only that, the report made it very clear why famine was taking place in Gaza. Mentioned all the Israeli actions, including blocking aid and not allowing food in for several months. And you know how they cited that in their report? They cited the Israeli government's own data on aid entering Gaza. But yet we see, of course, from Israel and all of its propagandists and Hasburists, claiming that the famine's not happening, and even if it is, it's not Israel's fault somehow. And that's been what Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, he has boosted that claim. He retweeted the Netanyahu's office saying that the IPC report is a complete lie. Well, if Mike Huckabee thinks that, then he also thinks that the FuseNet report is a complete lie, which again is a U.S. government-funded organization that the purpose of it is to kind of steer U.S. policy. So I asked the Trump administration, I said, FuseNet, I asked the State Department, FuseNet also concurred that famine is taking place. Do you accept or reject these findings? They gave me a BS statement. I thought they were like working on a real statement because they actually got back to me and said, oh, we're sorry, we're late. We're going to get back to you soon as we can. I was surprised by that. But then they came back kind of they pointed to Trump saying last month that, acknowledging that starvation is happening in Gaza. And then I forget exactly the wording. They said something like, but we will never boost the data from the Gaza, the Hamas controlled health ministry. And we are determining to see how much that was used in the IPC report. Well, if you look at the Famine Review Committee, which is like a committee of people who reviews the IPC's data to affirm, that it's correct and that, it's a very stringent process here. It's not like they just say, oh, look at these pictures. We see reports of people dying. Famine is occurring in Gaza. There's like a serious process here, including surveys of thousands of people living in the area. And also one of the methods that they used was measuring the circumference of children's arms, because that's the way that you could tell famine's taking place. And it was over the threshold for the famine designation. And that's not the Gaza Health Ministry doing that. But anyway, I looked in the report, and actually what the report said, which is what all other studies have said, is that, they did cite health ministry data, mortality data, but the report found, the surveys found that the health ministry's numbers are not telling the whole story, are a undercount. They found from their survey and their indirect evidence, as they called it, from everything else that's happening in Gaza, that the health ministry data is not showing the full picture. So, and again, this is a U.S. government funded report. So the fact that their response is, oh, the Hamas controlled health ministry, it's all
I hate that.
BS, everything coming from them, when in fact every indication has shown that those numbers that they put out, especially when it comes to the starvation deaths, because this is when in both cases, for the most part, the deaths that they record are people who arrive at hospitals and die at the hospitals, or their bodies are brought to the hospitals. When it comes to the violent death toll or people missing, in some cases they also count. If they have a report from their family and the evidence is thorough that the person is dead, then they add them to the death toll. But it's a very meticulous process. But when it comes to the famine, I mean, there's people living in tents, with like elderly people dying. It's not like everybody's brought to a hospital before they're buried. So, and again, it's obvious to us that this is happening and Israel caused it, and with the help from the U.S. And not only are they continuing to give a military aid, they're backing Israel's plans to completely take over Gaza City, where the famine is occurring. And the plan is to ethnically cleanse, forcibly displace the 1 million estimated civilians that are there to the south. And then what are they going to do? They're going to completely destroy the city.
Yep.
So, this is just the fact that Trump, they're ready to just support whatever Israel does next, even though we know famine is taking place. I'm curious. I'm going to follow up on this. I have a feeling they might deny it or try to retract the report. This is why I was surprised. This is another reason why I wanted to cover it. The last U.S. administration made FuseNet retract the report last year because they put out a report that famine was very close in North Gaza when Israel was carrying out the so-called General's Plan, when they cut all aid to northern Gaza and were demolishing all the buildings. FuseNet put out a report in December 2024 basically saying famine, it's about to happen. And the Biden administration made them retract it. And the U.S. ambassador to Israel put out this statement saying it was irresponsible and everything. Because in both cases, that was Jack Lew, who is the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Now we have Mike Huckabee. In both cases, they really serve as another Israeli ambassador to the U.S. I mean, how pro-Israel they are. So I was surprised the Trump administration let this slip through. So I want to see if I wouldn't be surprised if they do make them retract the report.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably likely. It's probably already being discussed. And I hate the whole Gaza Health Ministry is unreliable, because up until October 7th, Israel is known for using their numbers because they're reliable. I mean, this is a pretty well-known fact. This is not something.
State Department too.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the idea that they're now trying to pretend as if this is some overhyped number, or that they're lying, or that it's propaganda, that it's whatever, is so frustrating to me. And the idea that the denialism that's going on, I think that's the denialism, and I think the passing of the buck, the attempting to put this onto Hamas. I mean, how many times have we seen that? Everybody right now is talking about the lack of aid that's getting into Gaza, and people are trying to blame it on Hamas. And we all know that that's not the case, but Israel is desperately trying to make that, to make those claims and to make that stick, which they so often do with, their Hezbollah. So, I mean, it's not uncommon, but it's very frustrating to me that we can all see it happening, right, Dave? I mean, we all see it. It's being live streamed to us every single day, and yet they're still out here propagating these same lies over and over and over again. And when I heard you talking about on your show, I think it was yesterday, that part of the way that they do this is to measure the circumference of children's arms. That is such a dagger in the heart. And again, just when I think it can't get worse, it just keeps getting worse. And the idea that the Trump administration is just full-throated support, no questions asked, no accountability to be had, more money, more guns, more ammo, more weapons being sent to Israel. It's really disturbing, and it's very frustrating to me that we really seemingly have no impact on how our government is handling the situation, right? I mean, there's been protests in the streets, and now we've got them attempting to, make even saying bad things about Israel illegal. You know what I mean? Like, it's getting so far out of hand at this point. So I'll be interested to see if they do try to retract this statement. Have you heard any like rumblings about them attempting to do that so far at this point from the Trump administration, or have they just kind of? I mean, as you said, this is like a week old. So have you heard anything about that?
No, the only coverage I've seen of this is in Israeli media.
Yeah.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything. And again, I was surprised because I remember it was a big deal last year when that FuseNet report came out. But yeah, this just really went unnoticed. I didn't even notice it until, like a few days later. So yeah, I'm going to follow up. I asked FuseNet if they had a response. I don't know if they're going to like go against the State Department, to me, but I'm going to definitely continue to follow up on it. And the State Department hasn't been doing press briefings. So like,
of course not.
This past week, I don't even know if they did any, but I don't think it's on really any journalist radar. It's weird, the whole thing. If you remember last year, a big thing push from Democrats was, there's foreign assistance laws that prohibit giving military aid to countries that block humanitarian aid.
Yeah.
They've like dropped that argument. The Democrats, like I haven't heard that since last year. I don't understand because now they're just focused on all this other stuff Trump is doing, but.
Which is bizarre to me because this is such an obvious, I guess they can't really though, because they also did it, right? I mean, the Biden administration also backed and supported Netanyahu in Israel. So it's very difficult for them to distinguish themselves or to make a case against him when they are also guilty of it, which is often the case with everything. So not surprising. And really, they don't care. I mean, they're serving the same masters. I think we all know that at this point. So again, it's very frustrating to watch all this play out. I know everybody feels incredibly helpless. I know I do anyway. Watching this and being able to do absolutely nothing about it is devastating on every level. I don't know. Like, I hate sounding so doom and gloom. I realize that I am often labeled as cynical, but I really want to believe that this is going to end and that Palestine can be saved, but it doesn't look good for them. And the fact that they're now in a full-blown famine state is just horrendous. And there's seemingly no end in sight. So, I mean, we'll obviously keep an eye on this, and I'll keep an eye out for a future report from you on whether or not the Trump administration is going to attempt to retract this statement. So
come see me on tour in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Appleton, Wisconsin, Rosemont, Illinois, Chicago, Louisville, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.